What is up, everybody? It's Three Wheel Khalil, and I am back on the Spyder F3-S special series. And I know in all the videos, all sorts of comments have been pouring in about how I feel about the Spyder. Where's the update? Am I still riding? What's going on? So in this video, I wanted to give you an update on how I feel about my Spyder F3-S special series and kind of give you my opinion on what I see this machine's purpose being and how it stacks up as a sport tourer naked bike hybrid. And I'd love to hear you guys' opinions in the comments, so definitely keep them pouring in and stick with me for the full review. So I have had this Can-Am Spyder F3-S special series for about 6 or 7 months now, and although I haven't been able to ride as much as I may have wanted to, it has been a great experience the times that I have been able to get out and put this thing on the road. It has been a great adventure vehicle. It has been a great around town quick trip vehicle. It really is what I was looking for in my next purchase from Can-Am. The Ryker was an amazing introduction, and it really fit the bill for where I was in my life when I purchased it and what I was looking to accomplish with it, and it was able to introduce me to all of you, and I'm very thankful for that. This Spyder F3-S feels like a continuation of that story. It's taking me a little bit further outside of my comfort zone, and it's bringing me to be able to take a little bit more solo trips and stuff like that I've always wanted to do, but maybe didn't feel the confidence from, something like a Ryker, whereas the F3 makes, me feel very, very confident on the road with this extra presence, with its extra capability, and with that extra bit of power. And so I wanted to talk about how I see it as a sport tour naked bike hybrid, because that is what it is to me. There are a lot of options that you can get on the market, whether you're talking 3-wheel, 2-wheel, even further up in the Can-Am lineup like the F3T or the F3 Limited or the RTs. There are definitely different options that you can go with. I mean, you can also take a Ryker Rally or Sport and kind of upfit it for longer trips. So I wanted to talk about how this stacks up, and maybe you guys will get some benefit out of that. So one of the big benefits for me of the Spyder F3-S is the engine. It has this huge 1330cc engine that makes 115 horsepower, which, if you'll notice, is the same engine that's in basically every other Can-Am Spyder across the lineup. So even the most upfitted RT is going to have this 1330cc motor that is powering it, and therefore you're getting a ton of power, a ton of capability with that motor, and in its most stripped down form in terms of the weight on the road. So that Spyder F3-S really has the quickness that maybe you don't feel in something like a RT. Although I have ridden the RTs and they do feel nice and sporty, but when I lay into this Spyder, this F3 rips. And I said it in my last video and I stick to it today. There are times where I wasn't able to ride for a month or so, and then I go take this out the garage, I ride down the block, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just and I get into it just a hair, and I remember why I love this thing instantly. It rips. You put it in sport mode, traction control off, and you let that thing go through first, second, third, fourth, you will have a grin on your face under that helmet immediately. And that is one of the reasons why it is definitely worth the price tag, at least in my opinion. Now, when you take it out on the road, the thing that makes it a good tourer isn't just speed. It has the power, right? But the back end of that is you want to be comfortable when you're riding. You want to feel like, yes, the motorcycle has enough power to kind of carry you effortlessly and carry some gear with you effortlessly, but you also want to be comfortable. And I thought in stock form that the suspension of the F3S was actually really nice, well dampened, especially I guess coming off of a Riker for years where the suspension is good, but it's definitely much more raw, stiffer. You definitely feel the road a lot more, where the F3 still has a stiffer suspension maybe than some, but it definitely leans into being more refined, more well balanced. I feel more in control on the road even when I'm running over bumps and things like, you know, the road patterns that are underneath me right now. Like it doesn't feel as darty as maybe the Riker does. So that is a big thing. And plus, one of the things that people don't talk about with the Spyder F3 is that you have cruise control. And that's, I believe, specific to the Spyder F3-S and maybe even specific to the Spyder F3-S Special Series. And I think that was a new addition for 2022 and up. I'm not sure. Maybe people, if you have a Spyder F3, correct me in the comments. But now, outside of just suspension, we also have the seat. And seat comfort is a huge thing, obviously. But the Spyder F3-S standard seat is actually pretty solid. And this is a ride I did in fall. It was an awesome ride from North Georgia back down to the metro Atlanta area. And I was just cruising by myself and I really enjoyed it. But I did maybe about 3 to 3.5 hours of riding that day, maybe even 4. And I had zero discomfort on that standard Spyder seat. I thought it was really cool. I didn't feel any sort of fatigue because of the seat. The only type of fatigue I felt was just, you know, standard riding around. I was wearing my heavy duty gloves since it was a little colder, and therefore I felt some fatigue in my hands. But as far as that seat goes, I think the comfort is there. Later, thanks to Can-Am, I upgraded to the Cannonball seat, which is a really nice seat that kind of lofts you up a little bit more. You get a little extra padding, and that has proven to be very nice for longer rides as well. So far, I've only really gotten into the pros or the reasons why I love the Can-Am Spyder F3 as a sport, tour, naked bike hybrid kind of thing. But there are detractors, there are reasons why you might not feel that it lives up to that designation, and I want to get into those as well. One thing is that the gas mileage is not particularly impressive on a Spyder F3-S. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 to 22 or something like that. I haven't really calculated it in that way, but I know it's not particularly impressive for a tour. The Spyders tend to get worse gas mileage than something like a Goldwing or something in that family of a two-wheel motorcycle. So that's something to definitely recognize, but at the same time, also coupling that with the fact that it requires premium gas, it can be a little bit pricier on a long trip, and you're not necessarily getting that gas savings that you would put together with having a motorcycle, because you know, you could drive your truck and get similar gas mileage and carry a family of 5. So that's definitely something to think about as far as a sport tour. It's more about, you know, for the experience the three-wheeler gives you and the experience of just riding on the open road. But as far as, you know, economy goes, I don't know if you're going to find that on this particular vehicle. Also, the Spyder is a older platform. The Spyder F3-S and F3 specifically is an older platform, while obviously the Riker came out pretty recently, and the Spyder RT got a very large refresh in the last few years. The F3 has been around since I think 2015 or 2016, something like that. It's a little long in the tooth. I think the engine is a rock solid engine. It's been running all of basically the Can-Am catalog for a minute here. However, the accessories, the factory standard headlights, stuff like that has definitely remained stagnant for the F3. I would have really loved to see them refresh the headlight design when they refreshed the RTs, if I had to guess, I'd imagine an F3 redesign is coming soon, because it definitely does feel like the older model in the lineup. I mean, on this particular F3, I did get the upgraded cluster, so you get a modern sense to it, but I've said it and I'll say it again, spending more than $20,000 on a bike and not getting LED headlights in 2022 or 2023, it's a little wild. You would expect that, Can-Am could keep up with the times there. I mean, in comparison to something like a Goldwing, for example, which to this Spyder F3-S, which is around 22,000, a Goldwing is around 26,000, which is not very far off from something like a F3T or F3 Limited, which could cost around the same or more. The Goldwing comes with like upgrades, like obviously LED headlights, but also it has things like Apple CarPlay built in, which is pretty crazy. Again, but for what it is, you're getting that value. That's what a Goldwing is supposed to be. And same thing, it's like even when you go up to something like an RT, you're not necessarily seeing that in the lineup. BRP has some proprietary connect system that works well. However, to use like a navigation app, you have to use a paid application called Rever that then integrates with the system, which from my understanding works well. I tested it a little bit, but the big problem on the Spyder F3 Special Series is they didn't really think out too well where the USB ports would go. On like a F3T or F3 Limited, the USB ports are in the glove box that is above the gauge cluster, so you just tuck your phone in there, or you run the cable out to your handlebars, and now you have your phone plugged in for the kind of integrations. However, in the Spyder F3-S Special Series, because this platform wasn't necessarily built with that integration in mind, the USB port and audio jack are in the front frunk, essentially. So you would have to tuck your phone in there, you'd have to set it up, and then just like put it in there, and just kind of hope everything stays good. And if you need to adjust it, you'll have to stop, pull over, open your front, unless you find some way to run that cable up to your handlebars. So that's definitely an oversight on that part, and it goes back to the F3 being a older platform, and BRP doesn't seem to give it the attention maybe it deserves. So that's something to keep in mind. Outside of that, I think it's one of the most unique experiences that you can have on the road. Riding three-wheeler is awesome. Can-Am definitely provides something that you can't go to somebody else and get. And I've ridden two-wheel motorcycles. I still ride two-wheel motorcycles, but I love riding Can-Am three-wheel motorcycles. It's a passion of mine. And every time I do it, after even a month of not doing it, I am easily reminded that this is why I love it. And I hope you guys all have a similar experience that you can call on. Let me know in the comments if I'm spot on or if I'm way off the mark. Also, if you do any sort of tour riding on your Spyder F3, leave some comments with recommendations on how you carry more gear, trips that you take, things that you do to make it more of a enjoyable experience for yourself. Anyway, I've been Three Wheel Khalil. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, life's more fun on three wheels. Peace.